Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this CPA virtual experience webinar. This is the contract packaging, contract manufacturer panel discussion, the developing labor and automation paradigm. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Jorge Izquierdo. I'm Vice President of Market Development for PMMI. And I'm have the honor really today of being the host, the moderator for this session. We have a great panel, and I'm sure all of us, we're going to learn a lot from this panel. First, let me tell you a little more about the Contract Packaging Association. The objective, I guess, of the Contract Packaging Association is to promote the growth and welfare of the members through its industry exposure and the networking programs. The Contract Packaging Association was founded in 1992. And I guess it serves as a connection point for the industry through a number of different programs. Among of the programs, we have a series of industry exposure initiatives, networking initiatives, of course, the well-known RFQ tool where end users can identify potential suppliers of contract packaging, contract manufacturing services, and of course, educations and webinars like the event today. This year, the contract packaging has launched this initiative. You know, it's basically it's a virtual program where pretty much every 3 months on the third Thursday of the month at 2 p.m. like today, we will have a kind of a unique topic, a unique theme to discuss with you and hopefully to learn more about with you. Just a brief housekeeping items here. All attendees are right now in the mute mode. At the end of the session, we will be sending a survey, so please take some time to provide us your feedback. The webinar is being recorded, and within the next 24 hours, you know, at the end of the session, you will be getting a link with the recording if you want to see it again. So again, this is a panel, and today I'm very pleased to be joined here with 4 great panelists. I'm going to ask the panelists to introduce themselves. If you can basically just your name, your title, your company, and a brief description of your company, that would be great, just to give some idea of who's behind the voice here in the panel. So JB, do you want to start, please?
Certainly. Thank you, Jorge. My name is JB Broadus. I am the Chief Operating Officer here at Blue Chip Group. And here at Blue Chip Group, we are a manufacturer of both dry food and beverage products. For our dry food business, we really focus on shelf-stable dry foods, including entrees and snacks. Our food business is really anchored by our actual brand, August & Form branded products, which is sold through several retail channels, big box and online. And we also offer co-manufacturing services for food marketers and manufacturers. And then our beverage business, we really focus on our August & Form Equential Stable 30-year shelf life purified water, but we also provide co-manufacturing services for the beverage marketers as well. Energy drinks, nutraceuticals, and shelf-stable, ready-to-drink coffee. We're headquartered here in Salt Lake City, and we actually have 3 operating sites here in Salt Lake as well. Happy to be a part of the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, JB. Alice Marie, please.
Thank you. Alice Marie Jeffrione. I am president of packaging for DHL Supply Chain's North America business. So DHL, as you've probably heard, is one of the largest logistics company in the world. We have operations in about 220 countries and territories, and we have multiple divisions. So we have DHL Express, Global Forwarding, we have our e-com, German Post division, of course, the supply chain division. So I am part of that supply chain division, and I am specifically focused on our North American region. We provide all types of services in our supply chain business, from DC, warehousing, transportation, and then of course packaging. So the area I'm responsible for is our primary and secondary packaging services that we offer our customers around things such as bagging, filling, cartoning, displays, and so forth. and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, Liz Marie. Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Jorge. Chris Wilhelm, president of Coregistics. We are a contract packaging company, national footprint here in the U.S. I got about 17 locations now, and mainly focused on secondary packaging market. So taking that finished product and what we call late stage differentiation before it hits the retail shelves. We do a little bit of primary as well, a little bit of e-commerce, and some 3PL operations in addition to our packaging stuff.
Thank you, Chris. Jamie?
Yeah, thank you, Jorge. I'm Jamie Brandenburg. I'm CEO of TBS Surmount. We are a social enterprise with a mission of employing individuals with historic barriers to employment. We have our largest customer is the federal customer, where we package a number of products for USDA, for domestic feeding programs, USAID for international food relief efforts, as well as a number of products for the U.S. Armed Services, all branches. In addition to that, we also package food for a number of commercial companies, as well as dietary supplements. So we operate under two different regulatory environments. And we're principally located here out of Western North Carolina, headquartered in Brevard, North Carolina. And we have 3 locations that we operate out of.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we have a very good panel here, very different areas, backgrounds. So I think we're going to get a great feedback here. So, of course, workforce has been a challenge in manufacturing in general for a number of years now. It's I guess we can go back maybe 10, maybe 15 years, and it's been an issue, right? It was certainly a significant concern before COVID. Then COVID hit us in 2020, all the concerns during COVID. And after COVID, I guess the reality of the workforce and a lot of it labor especially, changed significantly. So as we are now in this new stage of manufacturing, I guess, we're wondering, how can we address some of those challenges with technology? Where are the best opportunities to do it? How effective can we do that? But before we start, let's start just very general questions. And I'm going to start the conversation here, but if the audience wants to submit a question, please do. We have a question and answer button on the application. Please use it, and we will try to address all the questions as best as we can. So, Chris, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you. What do you think are the key workforce challenges for your company currently?
We only have an hour, right? No, I mean, labor, look, we're a very labor intense business, and we continue to be, even with the trend towards automation we're seeing right now. And one of the focuses that we've had, and we've had to adapt over the last couple of years, has really been a strong effort and focus on being the employer of choice. We have to do something to separate ourselves from the dozens of different options that that employees get up every morning and have in front of them. And so if we're not creating an environment where they feel welcome, they feel appreciated, accepted, and comfortable to come back to every day, then it's going to continue to be a challenge. And that's been our main focus. That's been a continued challenge for us, is to create that. I think we've done a really good job over the past couple of years and across the country of kind of shifting that focus from being all about contract packaging and efficiencies and throughput on the ground to we are a labor provider. Let's start acting like one and taking care of these people.
Good. Yes, it's and you're right. In general, contract packaging, contract manufacturing requires a lot of flexibility, right? And sometimes that flexibility, it's provided based on labor, right? And that's the challenge, how to address that flexibility. So, JB, how is it for you in your company? Is it consistent with what Chris is sharing with us, or it's different? You're finding something else?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's going to be a similar theme, probably for all the panelists here. But, we have done what probably the other panelists and other companies have done across the country, which is, really looked to technology and automation in order, to fill the deficit that we all have with labor. But really kind of the best, and we continue to do that, and we still have investments that we're making for even higher efficiencies and levels of automation. But as you know, sometimes there's a little bit of trade-off with flexibility when you get into automation. Now, really kind of where we've had success is really kind of, it's not really a technology more than it is just a different way at looking at scheduling. And so we have created an unusual shift environment here, which really, accommodates a lot of people in their work life, what their needs are, their personal. As you mentioned earlier, Jorge, COVID really changed, how people view their work-life balance. And so one of the things that we've had great success with here is we've kind of had an untraditional shift that we created, that is a 3/12 shift on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It doesn't rotate. And that has been, for both days and nights. And to my surprise, because it's not something that would fit my lifestyle, but certainly during the COVID environment, that allowed an opportunity for a lot of caregivers to stay home with their child during the first part of the week. And it just kind of carried through even as schools opened up. It's our second most popular shift here. And it's been a big success story. Another area which also provides challenges for, especially for operations folks and payroll, is job share. And so we've looked to untraditional populations to employ underserved populations that need things such as part-time work. So we have folks that may come in and work first part of the day. Someone comes in later in the day to relieve them. Again, operationally, it's tough. It's a challenge to manage. But those are the things that we're doing here in order to make up for the deficits that we have and to be, as Chris said, that employer of choice. So we kind of look at our schedule as a way to accommodate the demands of our local labor pool.
Good. Thank you, Jamie. So JB, what about for you? I mean, anything different that you've seen in your company?
I would certainly say and echo what both Chris and Jamie have mentioned. I think we all are seeing the same things. And I used to work on the East Coast. I recently joined Blue Chip Group 10 months ago here out West. And, the challenges both ends of the country. It's labor shortage. And what we've done on our end and a competition for skilled labor. But what we've done on our end is really we've looked and taken an approach of let's stratify our workforce and make sure we work towards a prescription for each of the different concerns that we're seeing in each of those stratification levels. So when you look at how we stratified here, we look at, our less skilled or what we would call general labor. And we're seeing, I'm sure consistent trends across the country that, warehouse and manufacturing jobs have increasingly been viewed as not as attractive as maybe some of your more service industry related jobs. And so we've had to kind of work on some prescriptive solutions to that. I'll also say the next stratification would be our skilled labor. And across the country, I think we would all attest there's just a shortage of what we would call those skilled laborers, positions such as, maintenance, technicians, entry-level engineers even. And, really trying to find qualified candidates in our area has really been a challenge just because of the growing demand and need for that because of the migration towards automation that a lot of manufacturers are executing and implementing. And then the next stratification would be our very competitive professional labor market. And so, it's very, very competitive and those hygiene factors or being the employer choice is important for the professional labor ranks, but also for the general and the skilled labor ranks. And having a prescription for each of those is really important. And I think as we get further into, we can talk a little bit more about those, some of our solutions we've worked to deploy here at Blue Chip Group.
Sure. And it's very interesting what you're saying. So for sure, labor is a big part of the problem here, but it's a workforce challenge, right? It's at every single level, engineers, all kind of positions, really. So Alice, Marie, Tell me something. In your case, for sure, DHL is a very large company. Number of employees in the tens of thousands. How is it different for you? What's the experience for you? What are the challenges that you're facing?
I mean, I wouldn't say that they're different. I'd say we have the very, very similar challenges to everyone else, where there is a labor shortage. We're also trying to do everything we can to attract the best resources, right? And also be the employer of choice. We've been part of the Great Place to Work and was nominated and re-awarded that award this year. So we're doing everything that everyone talked about. I think with the risk of not repeating everything, because we are doing the flexible schedules and we are looking at how to reskill our workforce as we become more automated and so forth. But one of the other areas I don't think we necessarily touched on is the increase in wage rates that came with the labor shortages that we saw has created so many additional challenges. And so we all know wage rates are not going to decrease, so they have come back up. And we're at a point now where there's a tremendous amount of additional pressure from our customers to now find cost savings and to reduce overall costs some way in order to offset the increase in wages. So we've been spending quite a bit of time on initiatives around how can we improve our operations, make them more efficient, and drive cost savings so that we can really offset what occurred during COVID, which was quite a bit of increase in terms of the wage rates across all of our different associates and the different levels and so forth. So, but like everyone else mentioned, we are also experiencing those same issues around the workforce as well.
So, Alex, it's very clear what you're telling us about the great wage rates, and we can see it pretty much not just in manufacturing, I guess, in every industry. Is that making it easier to justify maybe automation projects? It's easier to justify the return of investment for a piece of equipment?
I will say it's a combination of both. So the fact that there was a shortage of labor, now that the labor that we have also is increased from a per person perspective, it has really built a better case for automating and driving that. So, you want the automation so you have the continuous capacity in the operation, but you also want to make sure that you are mitigating risk and making sure that you are, taking that operation to the next level. So it is definitely a combination, certainly, of both of those is what we're seeing for sure.
Thank you, Liz Marie. So, Chris, in your case, again, following this idea of automation and maybe technology, technology could be many different shapes and forms, right? Could be software, could be different interactive technologies, could be a piece of equipment. What are the solutions that you've identified, options that maybe your company has been successful in using in terms of technology to address these workforce challenges?
Yeah, so let me answer that one with a story.
Oh, perfect.
We actually had a very challenging scenario at the beginning of the last year with a new customer that we brought on board, which was actually in direct response to the COVID pandemic and the vaccine distribution. So we had a challenge with one production line in this facility as we went through one of the quickest startups that we've ever done. And it was not a typical production line that we're used to, which, where we can measure and see waste along the line. It was very, very work center focused with 32 different stations creating one product that got funneled to a main conveyor. And we were having really big problems with throughput, really big problems with labor, keeping people on the line, getting them motivated. And so we brought all the teams together and came up with a solution, which was basically automated personalized barcodes that every associate would put onto the package they were making, an automated scanner at the end of the line, think of like a grocery store, checkout scanner, and had our IT guys basically overnight create a software system where we could watch the metrics real time and see the throughput, the performance, and the efficiencies on that line Then we were able to tie in an incentive program to those employees. And I mean, that was really the secret sauce. And we saw with just a little bit of investment in automation on the tech side and on the, barcode scanners and printers, we were able to basically triple our output. We reduced the total labor need, and we were able to pay the people that were efficient on the line even more than we were before. So the incentive program, the bonus program tied with that automation really came together and improved the lives of those people on the floor after that.
That's a great example. Thank you, Chris. It's actually, using relatively simple technologies in a very, very focused way, right? You can identify who are your stars in the production line, who deserves to be recognized, and rewarding them for production. That's a great example. It's sometimes when we talk about technology, we think something very complicated, and what I love from your example is I'm pretty sure many of the things that you use you already had, right? It's just repurposing them.
Exactly. It's looking at what we got and thinking of new ways to do things.
Okay, JB, in your case, do you have some examples to share? Maybe some ideas?
Sure, absolutely. And I appreciate Chris's comments, and really in that same vein, what we've noticed, there's really, when we think about technology and automation in particular, we certainly go towards, opportunities for automated equipment, manufacturing equipment, as previously mentioned by Alice Marie, as relates to really being cost focused and conscious given the inflationary cost of labor. But one of the things that I think we all certainly recognize is that automated equipment is usually having long extended lead times, 10, 12, 18 months. So, and we've got obviously a burning platform to drive improvement today. And so, I think all of us as operations leaders can certainly say that some of the old techniques that we've learned back when we were young engineers or young operators, and that's lean manufacturing and Six Sigma, there's some low hanging fruit just in that aspect of just further refining standard work, focusing on material flow, and really being really driven towards the information flow surrounding shop floor management as well, similar to what Chris had mentioned as it relates to automating information, which usually is going to be a lot more quicker, and that low-hanging fruit is usually more quickly available. And so, really driving lean manufacturing has been a focus here, and we've seen some really good quick results as it relates to just managing and setting up WIP markets. When you have a lot of processes that are interdependent, you don't have a straight continuous flow. Really working towards driving and managing that becomes really important. I'd also say that when we talk about some of the skilled labor, it takes a little bit more longer term journey, but we've really started looking towards identifying some of our top performing general labor and really working on bringing them through the ranks, so to speak, through apprenticeship programs. We've been working and developing, we haven't secured it yet, but working with local community college to really kind of help us relative to training, to really develop our next generation of technicians, if you will. And then certainly from the professional labor aspect, part of those hygiene destination employer or employer of choice type tools is having more of the remote and hybrid work arrangements, having really best in class technology and high speed internet access to really allow them to be effective from work. And some companies have certainly become more empowered more of the employees to do more of the BYOD, bring your own device, do all the different things you want to do to make sure that their home environment is effective when working remote. And so having those things present certainly, I think, helps drive a more positive workforce, a destination employer status, and an attractive employer arrangement, but also provides those employees, particularly in the professional ranks, a little bit more work-life balance, but also giving them that flexibility to be on site and knowing that they have a home and a place here at headquarters at one of the operating sites as well.
Good, thank you. So, Alice Marie, I'm going to ask for your help in answering one of the questions from the audience here. The question is, do you see automation as a labor replacement or as an extension of workforce, kind of an expansion of their capabilities? It's just to,
Yeah.
what is it? It's to replace people or to empower them to be able to do more?
Yeah, actually, we recently as an organization conducted a survey and found that 9 out of 10 people prefer to work in an environment that is automated because it gives them a chance to learn new technologies and to upskill themselves. So we know that people always think, oh, you're going to automate, you're going to remove labor. That's not what's happening. We're automating, we're reskilling that labor. They're getting much more excited about coming to work because of that. And if you think about all of the capacity that is needed out in the marketplace for packaging, we're not replacing that labor. We're trying to add capacity into the market so that we can take on more work, more customers, just like everyone else on this call is also looking to do as well. So we definitely are not trying to replace the labor. We're trying to leverage the automation so that we can add capacity for our customers. And we're trying to create an environment that excites the employees because we know that that is something that they very much look forward to. And we definitely have spent quite a bit of time taking a look at that. We have a couple of projects, and one great example is that I think everybody knows in packaging operations, you generate quite a bit of waste. And there's a lot of corrugated materials and a lot of film that ends at the end of a line that you've got to take away constantly. And you think about all the labor needed to do that. In one of our sites, we actually removed 25 people from just taking trash and scrap from the end of a line and taking it to the recycling area and so forth. And that's not a fun job, right? So we were able to automate the trash removal process and put in those AGVs and remove that labor from there. But then we took that labor and we opened up more capacity and more lines to be able to take on additional work. So trust me, the associates really actually embrace that technology and that automation because they don't want to be doing jobs like just standing at the end of the line and removing that scrap and waste. So it's definitely something that I think everyone's excited about, and it's definitely not a replacement.
And of course, Alisbury, that's very, very closely related to being the employer of choice, right? You want jobs that they feel good about it, right? That they feel empowered. They not necessarily doing exactly the same thing or. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Jamie, this is interesting. On your end, it's a little different for you. You work with people with special needs. How are you using technology and I assume empowering them to use it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to echo everything that Alice Marie said is that, we use automation here as an additive. I mean, it's not a zero-sum game. So we freed up labor in certain areas and redeployed in other areas where we had surplus capacity. So we essentially, in our primary site, we've doubled our workforce in less than 4 years because of that. So it's a balance. And, how we approach it here is we refer to it as conscious automation, where we go into each situation consciously to understand the impact and the output, that it would have within the workforce. And as Alice Marie said, is that, we found that people look at us as the employer of choice because the investments that we make in them, after all, that's also an investment that we're making in them as well through additional training. So, automation is a synergy with our mission and what we do. It just allows us to provide more opportunity to invest in our people with these increasing wages, as well as training and new opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure also, it could be also play a good role in terms of retaining people, right?
Absolutely. Well, there's also a lot of Jorge. There's also a lot of ergonomic issues in play too, with your more traditionally manual aspects as well. So automation, in many instances, eliminates job-related injuries.
Of course, and makes it safer
Yeah.
for employees, of course. So I have another question here, and JB, if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask you to help us with this one. So often with automation, there's a need for a higher level of trained workforce to maintain and keep the equipment operating. However, there's a challenge finding the skill needed, for these new positions, these technologies that you're implementing. How are you adapting to this? How are you asking for sometimes people with less skills to work with more automated equipment?
That's a really good question, Jorge, and I would certainly say that it's really kind of a two-part challenge. You bring in new automation, you have an immediate need to support that new equipment. Then also we want to make sure we have a sustained pipeline of talent to be able to be successful long term. So one of the things that we've noticed, particularly in the area of the skilled maintenance roles, mechanics and electricians, is that I'm sure everyone has used sort of the incentive plan of help asking employees to help recruit friends and family. Traditionally that's usually has been restricted to just the local area code, or the local zip code, if you will. But we've actually taken an approach to extend that to beyond multiple states. If you have friends and family or within your personal network, skilled technicians, we're willing to. I mean, it's worth the investment of relocating them if they're willing to come and be a part of our journey here. So we've had some good success with actually relocating some technicians across several states to come work here, and that's through our internal referral program. And that really solves an immediate need, but then from a long-term aspect, to make sure we're sustainable. And I think I previously mentioned is really working on identifying what we would call those really high-performing, lower skilled labor that wants to make that next journey towards skilled, and really developing robust training programs, on-the-job training, but also, and we're working to get this fully implemented, an apprenticeship program that allows them to not only understand the equipment that they're working on in the facilities, but also to give them an opportunity to have certain certifications. And that's where partnering with the local community college and technical centers certainly helped in that regard as well. So, it is a short-term challenge to make sure you find that quick talent that you need, but long-term, we want to make sure we're securing our future through really robust training and ensuring that we have both short-term and long-term covered.
Good. Thanks, JB. Chris, how is it for you? I mean, do you have any specific new ways that you're handling some maybe training or how to address this skill gap, and these new technologies?
Yeah, I mean, I think training has to adapt with, especially an increased turnover that we're seeing on the lower levels, especially entry levels, unskilled positions that we're bringing on. So we've got to look at new ways to train people and easier ways to train people, get them up to speed quicker than we have in the past. And as we look at our systems again, using technology to improve that training process has become really important. And so we looked at our old ways of doing things when we onboard somebody, and even in skilled positions, we onboard somebody, how we train them on different processes and different aspects of the job, and really kind of using tools and technology to create quicker, better, and more robust training processes as we onboard new folks. I mean, it's been a big overhaul for sure.
Good. So, Alice Marie, in your perspective, is training changing the way you train people? And as Chris was saying, with the turnover, high turnover, the low skills sometimes that we're getting, new people coming in, how are you managing all that training?
So training is huge. Obviously, you have to do training once, but not just once, but on an ongoing basis. So we do have across North America multiple campuses that we use not only for recruiting, but also for training. So when we hire and recruit resources, before we bring those resources into the site, they go through an extensive training process in our recruiting centers so that when they enter the site, they are much more prepared from a safety perspective, quality perspective, and just an overall performance perspective. So we do spend a significant amount of time ensuring that, as we recruit employees, we also make sure that we have the ability to train those employees before we get them into the operations. And then, of course, when we are in the operations and new equipment, new automation comes in, we have certification programs internally that we do with our associates, and we also make sure that they are fully trained. And that may mean partnering with OEMs and things like that. But also, we just make sure that before someone accesses or uses any type of equipment in that facility, they have been through that training and certification process, if applicable. But it is definitely something that is completely ongoing. Every single resource in our organization must become a certified supply chain specialist, which is a program that we have created. So we know that every single associate that ever steps foot on one of the floors of our operation has been through that base training. And then depending upon the operation that they're in, they have specific training that they do before they enter in the operations as well. It's extremely important. And it all comes down to safety. That is our number one goal, no matter what we do in DHL, is that we make sure that the operation is as safe as possible and that everyone has that appropriate training.
I find it very interesting what you just said, Elizabeth, in terms of all of the people in your operations, they've been trained on kind of pretty much what the company does, and give them perspective on what role they play in that the whole picture, right? So sometimes it's easy just to think, oh, I'm just doing this little thing, without understanding the big picture and how they are part of that big picture, how that could be also part of what we were talking about, being the employer of choice and retaining the staff. So, Jamie, on your end, how are you handling training? Are you doing anything different in your operations?
Yeah, so first of all, one of the things that we've done, recognizing the gap in the skill set and the labor force, is we standardized our platforms. We basically brought in, replaced a lot of our equipment. We've got the same platforms. When you look at a specific unit of operation, they're all the same. So having that level of standardization with your equipment really helps to leverage the maintenance staff that we do have. One other thing that we've done, Jorge, and it's really kind of making us a very attractive workplace, is our machine operators are actually part of our maintenance department. So our maintenance techs essentially are running our equipment. They're directly responsible for PM, and by virtue of that, they also receive a lot of additional training. So it's an opportunity to advance their career by receiving a higher level of training, just like someone in maintenance would. And then we leverage the trainings that our vendors offer. A lot of this training is on site. We've also set up some of our rooms using technology, incorporating technology with, a lot of high resolution cameras, so that there are times where we'll have a vendor do a training on a certain piece of equipment, and they're halfway across the country. And we've done the things that JB mentioned as well, working with our local community college, and to develop a pipeline there. We have a number of apprenticeships that we offer every year, where we have students from the college come and they work a part-time schedule, but they're getting exposed to the equipment, and they're essentially training our workforce for the future is the way we look at it. And by virtue of that, we help supplement paying for their college.
Wow, that's great. I find it very, very smart from your company and what you're doing in terms of the operator is also the person doing the maintenance in the equipment. So you're going beyond just training how to use it, but how to keep it running.
Absolutely.
Right, the equipment. So that's not just offering them a path for growth, as you point out, but for sure increasing the productivity of your lines, right? They understand the equipment and they can keep it running. So I think that's very, very interesting and significant. So I have another question here, and it is a little too specific. So let's see if you can help me. Chris, maybe I'm going to ask for your help here first. Basically, what they're saying with the growth of club stores and multi-packing, in many cases, CPGs are pushing co-packers to have automated solutions, solution capabilities, right? Like maybe for secondary packaging formats. Is this true? Is this happening to you that, like, you know, it's rather than just relying on labor now, maybe some of your customers are asking, you know, to have a specific automating solutions?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that across the board, and that's one thing we haven't talked about is, you know, we've mentioned the you know, automation and technology investments that we're all making, and the increased labor. But on the flip side of that, you know, I'm probably not alone here, and every customer out there asking us to reduce prices. And so, yeah, we have to look at automation in that case, and what we can do with current setups and current products. You know, variety packs is a great example. Can we automate a variety pack line to where maybe it didn't make sense 2 years ago, but, you know, now with the higher demand and the club stores, you know, coming back, you know, that might make sense to look at, you know, having more automation on those types of lines in the past. And I saw Matt Linz ask that question, and Matt, you know firsthand that there are certain types of products that they are asking for, and yeah, variety packs, you know, automated sleevers, and that kind of stuff is definitely increasing in our business.
Is that true as well for your business, JB?
Yes, that's definitely true. And, you know, I think Chris, you know, hit the nail on the head when he mentioned that, you know, our customers asking for lower price, lower cost. And so that's really becomes the compelling reason why we have to look at automation. You know, when we certainly looking at variety packs, you know, those are opportunities where you've already made product and it's staged. And now how can we efficiently, effectively bring it together, collate, do final pack out? So those are good opportunities for automation. You know, I'd also just, you know, say that, you know, and I think everyone on the panel can speak to this, is that sometimes automation, if not properly supported, can be, you know, can be your worst nightmare if you have a lot of doubt.
Yes. Oh, JB, I think we lost your audio, JB. So JB. Okay, sorry for that, JB. We cannot hear you. Okay, so I'm going to move maybe now to you, Alice Marie, if you don't mind. I have one question here. Have you had to lower?
I think I may have lost my audio. Is that better?
Oh, that's better, JB. You're back.
Sorry. We've had a few challenges here locally, so I don't know how much of that was caught, but I can start over, or we can move on.
You can at least summarize the last part for sure.
Okay, sure. I would just say that, you know, when we think about automation and the risk of downtime, and particularly if you're trying to automate something where there's long equipment lead times, going back to the to lean manufacturing principles, I think it's really good to have a good investment in a lean practitioner. Or at least if you don't have one on staff, bringing in a consultant so you can develop one, but really focusing on ensuring that just traditional, you know, focus on gaining efficiencies, reducing waste in operation, driving proper material flow. A lot of the reason why lines are down is because material is not flowing properly. So really focusing on good material flow, some of the basic blocking and tackling can help drive those efficiencies to help improve costs until automation arrives. So I think those are things to look at as well. So
it seems, JB, that keeping a good eye on those basic things and on the simple things, it's one of the key things for keeping it simple as well, I guess.
Certainly.
Operators. So Alice Marie, maybe you can help me with this question here. Have you had to lower the hiring standards to meet the needs of labor? Where are you doing that? What are the minimums?
No, I would say absolutely not. In fact, you know, every year I think that the standards get more and more difficult. But no, we are following the same background checks that we have following the same process. The employees have to follow the same qualifications as before. So we are not compromising that process, because for us, as you mentioned, we have, globally over 500,000 employees in our organization, and it is the core to our organization. And so we are not compromising that, and we have not changed our standards around the hiring practices at all.
Good. Chris, how is it for you? Are you in terms of hiring practices? Are you having to be a little more flexible?
No. Similar to what Alice Marie said. I mean, we still have the same standards. We still have a very high standard for incoming employees, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Okay. So, Jamie, I'm going to ask you, we talked a lot about the current programs, what's happening now. Maybe I'm going to start looking a little more into the future. What's your expectation? I mean, you think that the current workforce situation is going to improve short term, midterm, or that's a way of living, or it's going to get worse? What's your bet?
Yeah, well, Jorge, my crystal ball is no better than anyone else on the panel, but I can tell you that me personally, I expect this to remain. Now, I know the Fed with the rising rates, essentially at some point you're going to see, and I think we're starting to see some of that now, some relief in the employment sector. However, I think you have to reconcile that with the work style, the work preferences of this generation. I think it's just different. So I think that's where we have to, as businesses, accommodate the needs of what is the future workforce. So I think to some extent, the labor force has changed, and it has changed forever. However, as JB pointed out, people have been talking for decades now about what we're experiencing right now in the workforce, especially from lack of skill. So I think to the extent that all of us as business leaders and all the folks on that are watching here, to the extent that we can invest with our local community colleges, reach young students in high schools, just to give them exposure to the opportunity that's there in our various industries. I think it's going to pay dividends, but make no mistake about it. We're in this for the long haul. I think this is a challenge that all of us are going to face for an extended period of time.
Alice Marie, how are you? How is DHL looking at this, looking into the future? Again, I'm pretty sure that you agree that this is not something that's going to be solved in the short term. What are the plans with the programs that DHL has to address this?
Yeah, I mean, and we're always looking at labor. I mean, we have seen some of the numbers come, I would say, down a bit in terms of we're having less problems, so better fill rates and things like that. But what I would say is the application rates have increased, the hires have increased. So we have seen some relief there. But I think we are always going to have labor challenges because they're the core to our business. So no matter how much we automate, you still need people, and you still need people to operate the business. And so, we are focused, just like we talked about earlier in the call, on making sure that we have the best environment for those resources. We provide them with the right skills, the right training, so they're excited to come to work. They want to continue to come to work. And so it's not a problem that's going to go away. But like we all mentioned, we're trying to bring in more and more automation technology to be able to help combat that. So we talked a little bit about, some of the technologies. One thing we did not bring up was we're starting to look at digital twin technology so that we could look at our operations remotely and be able to do all kinds of line changes and line balancing to see what we can do to continue to improve them and make them more efficient without having to physically go site to site and observe lines manually. So we're leveraging that technology, which I think is going to help us have a much more efficient workforce as well, because we're going to be able to look at many, many more lines across many, many more operations quickly, so that we can help make those adjustments so that people have the best work environment and they want to continue to come back. So we can leverage them as best as possible. So we're definitely looking at all different ways to do that, but people's the core of our entire business, and we're always going to have a continued focus on trying to have the best work environment for them, the best training for them, so forth, and the safest environment.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Liz Marie. So, JB, looking at the into the future, what kind of automation are you considering now? What will be the next step for your company in terms of what automation to help you address these workforce challenges? If you can share some of it.
Sure. As we talk about looking into the future, and I first would just, say that I'm always the eternal optimist, but I am cautiously optimistic. And so, automation and what can we look for in the future? I just kind of painting a broader landscape. I would say that, I've seen over a trend over the years that, early in my career, there was a lot of outsourcing to low-cost countries. Then things began to shift where we realized, well, maybe we don't outsource as much and there's more insourcing, more domestic manufacturing. But in between those two transitions, that big void of technical capability, we sort of lost our technical capability, from a broad standpoint. And I think that the bridge for us is to really make sure we develop the training, because there's a lots of broad reaching, platform of different automation from manufacturing to logistics, and even then information automation. But I think the linchpin is really going to be ensure that we are training the future workforce to be able to be flexible and to be able to be empowered to drive whatever the next automation is. And so I'd even kind of shift a little bit towards kind of back to the training comment and really focusing as well on ensuring that we are developing the right culture to retain talent, because a lot of times you invest a lot into the talent, then you lose the talent because of turnover. So investing in the right culture, investing in healthy leadership, and doing as much as possible to drive self-directed work teams so our associates feel empowered and feeling that they are able to make decisions and that they can see their direct and immediate impact. And some of the automation, which I believe Chris mentioned very early on, is just information automation, status boards, having employees see immediate feedback on how they're performing on an hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute basis, if we can get to that granularity, giving them the right information that they can be empowered to make decisions as real-time or near-time as possible to influence change, because that provides great immediate positive feedback, and that just continues this continuous loop of ongoing performance and driving improvement in efficiencies and giving that challenge, that opportunity to employees to make that decision as much as possible. For shaping that particular culture, I think it's going to be really important. And then no matter what the next generation of automation is, we've got the right workforces trained, developing the good, healthy culture to be as effective as possible.
Thank you. Thank you, JB. Chris, what about you? In terms of technology, what would be the next thing? What's on your mind?
That's a tough one, right? And Jamie said nobody's got a crystal ball when we're looking at the future. Our industry, though, I see as optimistic as I would like to be about things improving. I think we're going to stay, see the same challenges we're seeing right now for the foreseeable future. So yes, that means automation, more automation than typically we've looked at in the past on our production lines and some of our ancillary offerings. But we're at the end of the day, we're always going to be a people business. We're never going to get away from that. So, especially contract packaging, is the nature of contract packaging is to have the flexibility and the scalability quick enough to be able to do things that our customers can't. And the only way to do that is with very manual processes. I don't see that ever really going away in the form of machinery, equipment, and even technology completely. Now, yes, it'll help and it'll speed things up and it'll ease the pains, but at the end of the day, we're a people business.
So I agree with you. I guess in your case, in terms of contract packaging, contract manufacturing, the flexibility is key, right? That's your life, really. Jamie, how you look at it? How to balance these maybe investment in technology with flexibility? How do you merge those? Yeah, it's great to use some of the technology, but how do you incorporate that technology but without losing the flexibility?
Yeah, and I think that's where you have to balance automation with maintaining, smaller scale, more manual parts of the operation. And so we kind of break that down in call centers, and we look at certain call centers and product lines. And some tend to be more highly automated. And then we intentionally have other areas that are more manual, lend themselves better to smaller batches. So we intentionally design that into our process because, all of our customers have very diverse needs. And a lot of those needs aren't big volume, or I think it was JB mentioned earlier too, they have, maybe it is a big volume item, but because of supply chain issues, we have to make a quick pivot, right? And so having that flexibility to go to a smaller platform that may not be as automated or as efficient, still we're meeting the needs and solving a problem for a customer. So, so that's where we have diversity of our call centers here. Again, some highly automated, others intentionally more manual, that allows us to maintain that flexibility that we need to deliver for our customers.
Good, thank you, Jamie. And Alice Marie, a few minutes ago, you tell us about the skill set, and you told us, no, we're not lowering our level of, for hiring new people in terms of the skills you're looking for. Now, I guess I have a question here, and I guess it's, can you profile the future of workforce? Is there a recommended skill set that younger employees might need to have?
Well, I think it depends on the operation. So what we're doing is, as we look at the operations and we look at the strategy of how we're going to grow those operations, whether or not we're going to bring in more automation and innovation, or whether they're going to remain semi-automated operations, that's what's telling us the type of skills we need. And we are hiring in regions, and we're hiring in campuses. And based on where those operations are, what the skill sets are, we basically kind of look at that entire plan, and then we go after the resources that we are going to need. We do know that we are going to be responsible for doing quite a bit of the training and the upskilling, because the skill set doesn't necessarily exist for the amount of automation and technology we're starting to see hit some of our sites. So we know we're going to definitely take responsibility for that. But I would say it definitely depends on the operation to determine exactly what type of skill set that we need to hire and we need to look for. But we're absolutely prepared to make sure that we give them the right training and the right upskilling as well.
Chris, in your case, any specific skill set that would be key for you, that it's like the not negotiable?
Passion and a will to learn. That's all. We can teach.
Okay, and I think that's a good one for pretty much every job description, right? That's what you're looking for. I guess that will guide you into what you were referring to, Alice Marie, in terms of the willing to learn new things and the willing to grow. Mm-hmm. And I love your words, Chris, and that's I think that's a great way to come to an end to our webinar here, to our panel. I know we have a couple of questions here. We will find a way to answer those. Thank you very much for the audience, for all the ones that have been following this great webinar. Alice Marie, JB, Jamie, Chris, thank you very much. Great information, a lot of good tips. If you ask me, not just ideas, but very practical things, from things you can go back and do right now on your line, and things you can keep in mind when hiring new people for your companies. So at this point, I just want to thank you all, everybody, for joining us today. Don't miss our upcoming CPA virtual experience webinar. Our next one will be December 15th. The future of packaging. It's same 2 p.m. 2 to 3:30 p.m. Following that one, we have on January 19, we'll have the CPG brand panel discussion, shaping the future of supply chain with external manufacturing. You know, it's supply chain, I guess it's in the heads of all of us these days. Just a reminder, you will get an email with a brief survey. Please complete it. We will appreciate it very much. And finally, you will be getting a link for a recording with this webinar within the next 24 hours. Thank you very much. Thank you to the panel, and have a great day.
Thank you, Jorge.
Thank you.
Hi,
Happy
thank you.
Thanksgiving.